Well, I'd say that today is all about shepherding. Because we heard a shepherd theme in both the book of Jeremiah as well as the gospel story. With that in mind, I'd like to share with you a very short story from India, of all places. The story is entitled The Dog That Went Abroad, or the Panchatantra. I can't believe I got that on the first try. It took me like 4 at the 4:30. In a certain place, there once lived a dog by the name of Chitranga, which means having a spotted body. A lengthy famine set in. Because they had no food, the dogs and other animals began to leave their families. Chitranga, whose throat was emaciated with hunger, was driven by fear to another country. There, in a certain city, he went to a certain house day after day, where, due to the carelessness of the housekeeper, many good things to eat were left lying about, and he ate his fill. However, upon leaving the house, other vicious dogs surrounded him on all sides and tore into him on all parts of his body with their teeth. Then he reconsidered his situation and said, "It is better at home. Even during a famine, you can live there in peace and no one bites you to pieces. I will return to my own city." Having thus thought it through, set forth to his own city. When he arrived there, all his relatives asked him, "Chitranga, tell us where you have been. What is the country like? How do the people behave? What do they eat? What do they do?" He answered, "How can I explain to you the essence of a foreign place? There are good things to eat in great variety, and housekeepers who do not keep watch. There is only one evil in a foreign country. You will be hated there because of who you are." I really think that's a pretty cool story in of itself. Because at the heart of the matter, it's a story about the importance of being with people who care about you, friends and family. And that is so much more important than any creature comfort like tasty food. Great story. But you're probably asking yourself, why am I sharing it today? Because there was no shepherd in that story. There was no leader. There was no mentor, there was no guide. So what's the connection? Well, here's the connection with Jeremiah. In the book of Jeremiah, the prophet proclaims to the people that bad shepherds are going to scatter the people of Israel like sheep to far-off lands. But God, the good shepherd, will bring them back. The sheep will return to their true home, and there will be no need for fear and trembling. We heard that in Jeremiah. So those people returning to God's fold, they're like that dog in the story coming back home without fear. He didn't even worry about the famine when he came home, perhaps knowing that famines only occur for a time and that there is no true need to be afraid. He left his country in fear. He returned without fear. That's the connection. Returning home without fear. Shepherds make that happen. The dog experienced that in the story. There's also a connection between our story and the gospel, because a whole bunch of people followed Jesus to a deserted place with no food. Jesus saw them, took pity on them, began to teach them, shepherd them. And this is right before the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes. That's what we'd hear if we, kept on reading. And I don't even mind the fact that we didn't get to that awesome miracle yet, because I'm more interested right now about the shepherding and the teaching of Jesus. And the question is still unanswered. Why did those people follow Jesus even when they felt their tummies rumbling with hunger? Well, the reason they followed Jesus is the same reason the dog went back home in the story. Those people were hungry for something more important than food. They were in the presence of divine wisdom, and they picked up on that, even if they didn't know that it was the Son of God that they were in the presence of. The dog had a similar epiphany. Now, there was no dog Jesus in my story, but there was still that special something that was more important than food. Instead of divine wisdom, in the dog's case, it was the peace and unity of being back with his friends and family. People he could be safe and welcome around, people he could be himself around. It seems to me that those two things are one and the same, albeit in different forms. So on the one hand, you've got divine wisdom, Christ-like teaching. That's the gospel story. And then you've got the peace and wisdom of welcoming people and loving people. That's the dog story. If you have one of those things right in front of you, chances are the other is spiritually present. If you're growing because of an awesome teacher in your life, I'll bet you anything that you are at least somewhat safe and secure in their presence. I have never heard of anyone growing in wisdom while in a state of fear of their authority figure of the moment, be it teacher, parent, priest. We don't grow in holiness out of fear. That's not the way it works. Divine wisdom carries with it a sense of peace. And likewise, when we are amid friends and family, when life is good, that life will, sooner or later, teach us something about God, about the world, about each other, or about ourselves. We have the power to grow in that loving environment. So I say to you again, divine wisdom, shepherding, security, loving people. It's all the same thing in the eyes of God. So if you're still that dog in the story, eating tasty food at far too high a price, I hope that you set out on your journey home very soon. I'm sure your friends and family are worried sick about you.